Hey, and welcome to the next session on Rights, Freedoms and Australia. Our central question for this lesson is, what are the universal human rights and how do they contribute to Australia's modern identity? Now, the idea of human rights is not a new one and can go as far back as 539 BC to King Cyrus of Persia, who tried to make people follow a set of rights by writing them on a big stone cylinder. Now, the awesome video, The Story of Human Rights, found on the website www.youthforhumanrights.org, covers the history of the human rights in a really nice way. But we'll start our story with the end of World War II. Now, World War II ended in 1945 with incredible levels of human suffering, with 70 million people dying, including the 6 million in Europe with the Holocaust, and the 250,000 lives in Japan with the 2 nuclear bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Now, the United Nations, or the UN, was established in 1945 by 8 founding nations as an intergovernmental organization to promote international cooperation in order to prevent another such conflict. Now, Australia itself was a founding member of the UN and played a prominent role in the negotiation of the UN Charter in 1945. Australia was also one of the 8 nations involved in drafting the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The Universal Declaration declares that human rights are universal, to be enjoyed by all people no matter who they are or where they live. In total, there are 30 rights. Now, we are entitled to these rights simply for being human, because we are all born free and equal. Now, they cover aspects of our physical, our emotional, our financial, our spiritual, and our social lives, and come with the responsibility and the duty to other people and their rights and freedoms. In theory, they cannot be taken from us. However, and this is the big spoiler alert, while these 30 rights are important, the Declaration itself is not a treaty. It does not directly create legal obligations for countries to follow, and it's open to interpretation. They are simply an expression of the fundamental values that humanity should aspire to, and which are shared by all members of the international community. But having said that, the Declaration has had huge influence on the development of international human rights. Rights like the Civil Rights Movement, women's rights, the rights of the child, the rights of people with disabilities, and the topic that we're going to cover in detail later on in the lessons are the right of the Indigenous people. Now, another big however is that human rights are problematic and open to perspectives. Take the example of right to marriage and family. Who can get married and to who? Are alternatives to the traditional idea of marriage a right that could be exercised? Now, the answer to these questions could be argued using specific rights. The right to religion would push the idea one way, while the right to not be discriminated against would push the argument another way. Can these apparent clashes of rights coexist? An interesting question. While the human rights have been around for 70 years, Australia and the world still struggles to live up to the expectations. Take a moment to pause and read some of those fortnight headlines that just flew past. But hey, let's finish the lesson. Can you answer the question, what are the universal human rights and how do they contribute to Australia's modern identity? So you can replay, go back and pause it,